Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Christy.
What are we talking about this week, Christy?
So this week I thought we would talk about the phrase, don't punish the growl. In our last episode, Heather talked about not punishing the growl. And I realized that when I started my journey of learning about dogs and dog behavior, people would constantly tell me that. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And I
Mm.
don't know, does that mean just ignore all the growls, like just do nothing and let things escalate? I didn't know how to implement that. And so I thought it's such a common phrase. Maybe we should address it.
Yeah, I definitely say it and assume that everyone understands it. So I'm glad that you mentioned this as a potential topic. And I feel like it's definitely a shift. It's one of those other things that, as we understand more about dogs and dog behavior and dog training, that for the majority of people, they have come to understand that if we are either suppressing or ignoring when a dog growls, we are missing out on key information that the dog is trying to tell us. And it
Right.
is their number, like they're a way for them to speak to us.
You're right. Yeah.
I also think that if we kind of change the mindset of how we think about a growl and think of it as a form of communication, it's an easier form of communication sometimes to understand than, well, is your dog's body stiff? Are they whale-eyed? Are they shifting weight? Are they tense? Are
Licking
they
their lips.
Yeah, it is a much clearer way of them
Mhm.
communicating and for us to understand, but it is no different than any of those other characteristics that we are told to look for in
Mhm.
understanding if our dog is fearful, tense, I don't want to say
Mhm.
upset, but all of those
Yeah.
different things,
Have some
worried,
feelings.
have some feelings. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like shifting the mindset too, that it's just another way for us to understand our dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say don't punish the growl, what
Hmm.
what would you do instead?
I guess it depends on why they're growling.
Or
Um,
even like what does that look like not punishing the growl?
yeah. So something that popped in my head as a really, really classic example of that I can think of and happened with my dog Link was if I would go, he's on the couch and
Mhm.
I go to grab his collar to remove him from the couch.
Mm.
That would have been a time where I could see him growling. Okay. And
Mhm.
I think that trying to physically move your dog from a space could be a time that would be a common scenario for people that a dog might growl.
Mhm.
And for me today, I have a lot of different things that I would do instead. So I am not necessarily a person to go and like grab a collar in the same way that I would have 20 years ago. My first go to is if I want a dog to move, I will throw food. That's like
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
first thing. If they don't have a cue where I can say off or move
Mhm.
or out or whatever your commands are, if I want a dog to move, then I'm going to use food, a toy, something to like motivate them to move out of the space. And so then we are not inciting the growl. So I guess I
Mhm.
would say you go in, you go to grab your dog's collar because you want them to move and they growl. The first thing
Mhm.
I'm going to do is step back because I'm going to respect their space and the fact that they're telling me, hey, I'm not comfortable with what you're doing.
Mhm.
And I'm asking you for space. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to go to, okay, I need the dog to move. So, what other tools do I have to make that happen? I can throw food, throw a toy, use a cue that they know, all of the different things. If it's a dog you're having other issues with, I also was thinking, or you're working through this problem, then that would
Mhm.
also be a dog that in this scenario, I might also have trailing a line And so then I don't have to like impede on the dog's space. I have a
Mhm.
line. I can then use the line to help me guide them off. But that's obviously for this specific example.
Right.
Does
Yeah.
that help?
Yeah, I think so because I think it's important too. If you're having issues with your dog moving or spatial issues,
Mm-hmm.
teach that move cue. I just often walk up to Jackson and say, "Hey, can you move over?" And like
Yep.
he does because he
Yep.
like I'm like you're in my spot. And then I often use body pressure, like
Yes.
spatial pressure. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sitting on him. Body pressure
Yeah.
smash.
But you're right. Spatial
Spatial pressure.
pressure is a
Yeah.
huge tool. Yep.
But it with some dogs, that could create a growl,
It could.
like,
It
and
could.
so I think, when I was new to not punishing the growl, I thought, "Oh, if we're not punishing the growl, we're not doing anything else either."
Oh,
And so we're just allowing dogs to growl and possibly escalate. Because I was really thinking at that time, the only time I was really having issues with growling was dog to dog.
okay.
And so then, okay, they're growling at each other, so now I just step back and let whatever happens happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not, and I wanna be
Mm-hmm.
clear, like, that's not what not punishing the growl
Right.
is.
Right.
It's stepping in a different way where we're not saying like, "No, don't growl," or
Yeah.
hitting the dog or jerking on them. I do see that a lot still in non-training aspects, like day to
Mm.
day. My neighborhood is very dog social. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's always dogs in the park playing together. There's always, and it's not a dog park. They're just playing together. I run into people on my walk every day. Jackson plays with dogs every day on our walk.
Christy never thought this would be her life.
No, this was not the life I planned.
That's hilarious.
But Jackson loves it. So, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of trusted dogs now.
Yeah.
And so what I do see is sometimes a new dog will come into the mix and growl, and then immediately they're jerked off their feet altogether. They're jerked back,
Ooh,
they're jerked off their feet, they're hit, they're yelled at. There's a variety of things that happen because they growled.
interesting.
Um, and and I think, man, this is such a solid group of dogs that is here that none of the other dogs even reacted to the growl. They were like, "Oh, okay, you're not friendly. Like, we're not interacting with you then. If you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
behave that way, we're turning our attention somewhere
Mm-hmm.
else." So they took care of it themselves. And
Yeah.
yet the owner is, man, like just going after their dog for barking or not
Mm-hmm.
barking for growling.
Growling.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." They growled and the dogs corrected it, but man, you're really on the dog in
Yeah.
in a negative way. So I do think there's still this concept out there that we have that growling is bad.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a precursor
Yeah.
to escalation.
Yeah. It can be.
It can be. Can be. Yeah.
Yep. Because
Yeah.
it could
It's
also mean play. It could happen.
yeah.
It could
Oh,
happen during
it's the
dog
worst.
play. It could happen when you're playing, like, number one, playing tug with a dog. I want my dog to growl at me when I'm playing tug with them. I'm
Mhm.
like, give them a tap on their side to like get them really
Yeah.
into it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm growling at them actually. And,
Yeah.
I want that whole back and forth. I think we have to be very careful because there are times where growling really is something entirely different. And you don't want to assume that even when a dog walks up to another dog and that they growl, that it's even the precursor to something
Mhm.
escalating
Mhm.
outside
Yeah.
of maybe it's escalating to play, but like
Yeah.
escalating to
Sure.
something negative. But then that makes me say that is when you do need to be educated on not just your personal dog,
Yes.
but dog body language for your
Mhm.
personal dog.
Yeah.
Because just like we've said before, I wouldn't tell someone to assume that their dog's hackles being up means that they're going to attack a dog. you
Mhm.
got to look at everything because the whole body is the picture, right? So
Mhm.
when you're talking about growls in relation to communication with another dog, you do have to put the other pieces together and look at the
Mhm.
whole picture of your dog, their dog, the environment, your dog's history.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot to ask in a moment, but the growl
Yes.
really truly is information.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is, and Jackson's like the noisiest player, the worst growler when he's
Hmm.
playing. And I have to warn people, okay,
Yeah.
he's a very noisy player. He
Yeah.
sounds not great. But I also have to listen to his tones, which is
Yeah.
interesting because he's very vocal when he plays, but then there's like a shift in tone. And then I'm like, oh, he's not playing anymore. Now he's upset about, like, he has some
Yeah.
feelings about something that happened.
Yeah.
Either he's overstimulated or he actually needs space now.
Yeah.
And what's been interesting is a lot of people, if their dog is overplaying with Jackson, they can't differentiate those growls at all.
Mm.
And they're like, I don't know why you decided that was too much when you didn't think it was too much before.
Yeah.
And I explained, like, there's different tones to it. And they're like, I didn't hear anything different. And
Yep.
if that's okay, if that's you,
Right.
you can learn,
Yeah.
but you can also play it safe if you feel
Yeah.
like that's not something that you're comfortable with too.
Yeah. But I would say playing it safe means not hanging your dog by their leash, which Christy would never do.
Right.
But like playing it safe means intervening in a way that is not going to then escalate what was nothing into something. So
Right. Yeah.
maybe you and your dog out for a walk in this scenario come up to another dog in a park, your dog growls, that makes you feel uncomfortable. Doesn't matter why it was, but the reaction I would prefer in that situation is me saying to my dog, let's go, and turning in the opposite
Exactly.
direction, right?
Exactly.
Because we are, if the growl was quote unquote negative,
Mhm.
then we're changing our tone to put it in a different direction. And if the growl was quote unquote positive, then we are not punishing it. We are just saying, let's go. And
Yeah.
we're making no big deal about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if your dog comes to you easily, like, give him a treat for that too. Like,
Yes. Yes.
it's just
Yes.
a very lighthearted, like, hey, let's go this way instead
Yeah.
of let's keep going.
So I think what I would say is we don't want to punish the growl, but it's okay to redirect it in a positive
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say even so when I had Julius, I think we talked about this a lot. He was very dog reactive. He
Yes.
ended up in a home with lots of other dogs. I knew he could do it. It just on leash, he was extremely dog reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Behind a barrier, extremely dog reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we went to a trainer and she had said, "Hey, I don't want you to react at all when my dog comes out, regardless of what he does." And we had really been working on reactivity. So when her dog came out and he only growled instead of exploding, he did a
Mm.
little growl. And I go, "Oh, good boy." And she goes, "Okay, I don't think I've ever had that happen." And I go, "Well,
Yes.
normally he explodes. And so now for him to request space with a simple growl,
Yes.
that's such a huge step for him." And she's like, "Okay, I don't usually see people recognize that."
Yes.
And she was like, "No, you did the right thing by, like,
Yeah.
telling him
Because
good
he didn't
boy." Yeah.
explode. Yeah.
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 He's just telling me information
Yeah.
without going to teeth, which
Yeah.
is exactly what we want.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I totally
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I think, well, and we mentioned in the past, in the last episode, or I forget, but I was saying also a growl from Tiago
Mhm.
and a growl from Tater are two very different things
Absolutely.
that I treat very differently. If I'm on the couch and I'm snuggling with Tiago and I move my arm or whatever and like reposition, and he would ever growl at me, I'm going to say whatever because it hasn't happened. I would instantly be like, there's something wrong with my dog, because that is not part of his normal repertoire. That is not a way he communicates with me.
Yeah.
And whereas if I'm laying with Tater and I go and I want to shift his weight and he like at me, and that wasn't a good impersonation. It actually sounds like a growl, but it's different from a bulldog. And he'll even give a
It's
little,
more grunty.
yeah, and he gives a lift curl, right?
Uh-huh.
I essentially dismiss it. I ignore it. It's not that I don't take it as information because I know it's information,
Yeah.
but he is more quick to use his voice, as am I. And so that is just part of his personality. So
Yeah.
I am definitely, while it's information, I am quick to dismiss because I'm just like, dude, whatever. My leg's asleep and I need you to move. So it is a simple statement to say, don't punish the growl, but there is a lot of nuance behind it.
Yeah.
And that nuance is different for individual dogs and individual relationships.
Yeah. I also think it's important to recognize a growl towards another dog or another animal feels a lot different than a growl towards a human.
Mm,
And I feel like a lot of times there's some feelings associated with that
mm.
growl that just be aware if your dog growls at you or at a human that is it's still okay to take that step back. You don't have
Yeah,
to react. In fact, we're saying please don't
please
react
don't. Yeah.
because that emotion, like I'm gonna be honest, if my dog who loves me growls at me, I'm offended.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, maybe not if like if Bulldog growls at me, I'm not
I was
offended, and
like,
I know he
yeah,
loves me.
yeah,
But my own Jackson, who doesn't growl
yeah.
at me, if he were to growl at me, I would be startled and offended. And
Interesting.
that would be a lot of emotion in that I
Yeah,
would automatically want to react to.
yeah.
But that's not where you want to start. You want to start in a thought process.
Well,
Oh,
and
what is this?
yes,
Start with curiosity. What is
yes.
this?
And I would say if you need to have a reaction, have the reaction to move away, not move
Mhm.
towards.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of the times I'm going to hazard a guess that if your dog is growling, they're growling because they're asking for space in some way. And so, even though, like with Bulldog, I'm like, oh, whatever, I dismiss the growl, but I'm not going to, it's still information. And
Yeah.
so, if you are feeling some type of way when your dog growls at you, which is totally warranted,
Yeah.
just take a step back, take a breath,
Mhm.
and recognize, okay, this is the time to take space and think about this for a moment, because there's nothing, you're not going to gain anything by pushing forward,
Mhm.
right? You could be detrimental, you could push them further,
Right.
but you're not going to gain anything.
Mhm.
So, whereas if you're pulling back, just like the park example, where you're like, let's go, you only have something to gain by taking a step back, taking a moment, taking a breath, and assessing the situation, and then deciding, okay, was that a one off? Is this normal? Is
Mhm.
this not normal? Do I think he's painful? Do I think something else is going on?
Mhm.
You know, do you have a dog that sometimes resource guards and there was a bone there? I mean, just you can think through the whole process and
Mhm.
take that step. You're not saying to your dog, great job, way to growl at me. I hope you do it forever, every single day for the
Yes.
rest of your life.
And I think that is something people think they're like
Yeah.
rewarding the growl. We're
Yeah.
not asking you to
No.
reward the growl. And it's not rewarding the growl. It's just taking a step back
Mm-hmm.
to reassess.
Mm-hmm. And I think I used the example with Tiago in the last episode where there are times where I will reward the growl. I will praise him for
Yeah.
growling. If I think that my dog is assessing a situation and protecting me, I will
Mhm.
absolutely tell them, good job for growling. But
Yeah.
that growl is not placed towards me. That's
Right.
what we're talking about. We're talking about growls that are coming at you from your dog and
Yeah.
how you sort of handle that, and it's okay for you to have feelings about that and
Yeah.
then kind of decide. You're not putting like a little rosette on that growl and saying, way to
Yeah.
go, you growled at me. You're just
Yeah.
taking a moment to step back, assess, and then decide what's the right move to go forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are times, like you said, that you praise a growl. Like I just this week I had a puppy over and Jackson was laying next to me and the puppy, being a puppy, decided to run across his stomach and rib cage. And
Mm.
Jackson let her know right away that that was not appropriate to do with the
Mm-hmm.
growl. I also trust Jackson. I know he's not going to escalate into biting the puppy. He's
Right.
not going to be overly aggressive with a puppy or
Yep.
any dog, honestly. And so I was like, yeah, good job, buddy. Like, I can't teach that puppy that.
Nope.
Your growl is setting boundaries for her, and she's getting it at her home with a grown dog. And
Mm-hmm.
she's now in a new environment getting the same information. So
Mm-hmm.
then hopefully that sticks
Yep.
and she becomes an appropriate adult dog then with
Right.
other dogs.
Right.
So sometimes
Exactly.
it's, yeah, sometimes we reward the growl and sometimes we just don't punish it.
Yeah, I agree.
I would also say sometimes if you know your dog, I was thinking of, so my brother's dog and Jackson, we've worked really hard on their relationship. It's not 100%. It very much has to be monitored. They can't be alone together. It's, and little things can tip it, but mostly they coexist together. But over Thanksgiving, I had given my dog a bone when my brother's dog was out of the cabin. And then when they came back, there were clearly some remnants in the carpet that I did not get up.
Mm.
And so they were both sniffing there, which turned into a little some puffin stuff.
Puff and stuff.
Um, yeah, so not like a full fight, but like growl, snarly,
Mm-hmm.
could turn into a full fight. But as soon as we heard the growl, that was indicating it's a different growl from both of them,
Mm-hmm.
indicating we're both unhappy and we're not going to back down, and then escalating. I think I stood up and said, hey. And then my brother did the same thing. Now, some people would say that's punishing the growl because it's yelling at the dog. But I also know my dog and my brother's dog to know a simple hey is going to dissipate that energy, that they're going to go in different directions. And my dog's then going to come to me because he's not scared if I say, hey, it's not, ooh, my mom's going to beat me. It's,
Mm-hmm.
hey, my mom is like, hey, seriously, get over here
Yep.
with me. And my
It's an
mom's going to protect me.
interruption.
Yeah,
It's an
it's just
inter
an interruption.
actually no, it's a disruption.
There you
It's a
go. Yeah.
disruption of the conversation that they're having.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of stepping between and saying, "Hey, hey, hey, hey." And we didn't do it in a "Hey, hey, hey, hey," like
Yeah.
light manner.
Yeah.
It was serious, but it was also not, nobody got in trouble for that. It was
Right.
just like, "Hey, come to your respective corners, your respective owners. Everybody's going to get their love. Everyone's going to be okay. No big deal."
Yeah. And there again, it's an example of you asking everyone to step back and take a breath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and that's a good example of dog growling where it's like,
Yeah.
like this could turn into something. But
Yes.
I would have, honestly, if I was in the same situation, I would have done exactly what you did.
Yeah.
I would
And they
have
recovered
disrupted the
very
conversation
quickly.
and yeah, because you know that your connection to your dogs, they're going to come back to you and then everything, all the energy in the room just goes down 10 notches,
Yep.
which is the whole
Exactly.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I really like the thought of don't punish the growl, but also be inquisitive and curious about what is happening. Take some space. Don't be afraid to take that space and really look at the whole picture and say, where is it coming from and assess, and then move forward and know that just because you take that moment, you're not rewarding it, but you're also not punishing it. You're just
Yeah.
taking information from it because that's truly what it is. It is the dog communicating to you that something that is happening is not okay, or
Mhm.
actually communicating to another being that something is
Right.
not okay because they're either communicating to you, another dog, another species, whatever. And how you handle that can set up a really good communication between you and your dog.
Yeah. I do also want to say every growl is not appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's an inappropriate growl, it doesn't mean it needs to be punished.
Yes,
Um,
because
yeah, because
because if you punish the growl and they not do not feel that that is an option for them anymore because it's
Mhm.
been punished, the next place they may go is to biting or air snapping.
Yeah,
And having a dog feel like the growl is no longer available as a means of communication to go to
yeah.
using their teeth in whatever way that is
Mhm.
not what we want to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a little poodle run up to Jackson in a group of dogs, and
Mm-hmm.
then she just decided she came up to us. We didn't go to her. She came to us, and
Mm-hmm.
then she jumps on Jackson's shoulder with her little paws on his shoulder and like gets right in his face and then growls at him.
Mm.
And I was like, "What is happening?" And
Yeah.
luckily Jackson was like very unintimidated by it, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Whatever." And in that moment, I was like, "Okay, let's just move on. Why don't you scooch over, scooch. Where's your owner?" And then calling for her owner to come get her. "Hey, she's unhappy. Like, let's
Yeah.
move her along." No big deal. And now we do see her. She will growl at Jackson if she's too close to him.
Mm-hmm.
But until that point, she's pretty comfortable, which I
Mm-hmm.
do think is part of like she's established a boundary of I'm not comfortable with you. And
Mm-hmm.
Jackson is like, that's cool. We don't have to be friends. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just be cognizant, just like everything else we say,
Yeah.
growls are complex, but
Cross is so
don't,
complex.
you know,
Like everything.
don't get caught up in the weeds. Just look at your
Yeah.
own dog, learn your
Yeah.
own dog, learn your own dog's behavior
Yeah.
and take it for what it is, which is information and a form of communication.
Yes. And support them in whatever way you can.
I agree.
If you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and share us wherever you get your podcasts. Also, come on over to Instagram and engage with us at Sometimes There's Side Eye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.